I didn't tell my daughter the truth the night she asked me why her mom left. And sometimes I think that single decision changed both of our lives. She was 7 years old. It was raining outside. Not the dramatic movie kind of rain. Just the quiet kind. The kind that taps softly against the windows and makes a house feel emptier than it already is. I was sitting at the kitchen table sorting through bills. The clock above the stove kept ticking. Tick. 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 The only other sound in the house. Then I heard small footsteps. Dad? I looked up. She was standing in the doorway wearing oversized pajamas covered in little stars. Holding her stuffed rabbit. The same rabbit she'd carried everywhere since she was 3. Yeah, sweetheart. She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she asked the question I'd been dreading for years. Why didn't Mom want to stay? I froze. Completely froze. I had prepared myself for hundreds of situations. School problems. Bullies. Broken hearts. Bad grades. Everything. Except that question. Because the truth wasn't simple. The truth was messy. Painful. Embarrassing. The kind of truth adults struggle to understand. Never mind children. So I lied. Not a huge lie. Just enough. I told her mom loved her. I told her grown-ups sometimes make difficult choices. I told her none of it was her fault. She nodded. Like she accepted the answer. But I could tell she didn't. Kids know. They always know. That night after she fell asleep, I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the ceiling. Thinking about everything. Thinking about her mother. Thinking about the day she left. Thinking about the note. God. The note. I still remember exactly where I found it. On the kitchen counter. Folded in half. 3 simple pages. The first line changed my life forever. I'm sorry. That's how it started. Not with an explanation. Not with a reason. Just 2 words. I must have read that letter 20 times. Maybe more. Looking for answers that weren't there. Looking for some hidden meaning. Some clue. Anything. But there wasn't one. She simply left. At first I thought she'd come back. Most people did. Friends kept saying. Give her time. My sister kept saying. She's probably overwhelmed. My mother insisted. Nobody walks away from their family forever. Turns out they were all wrong. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Months became years. Eventually people stopped asking about her. But my daughter never did. Every few months she'd bring it up. Always differently. Always unexpectedly. Did Mom like ice cream? Did Mom ever sing to me? Would Mom be proud of me? Every question felt like stepping on broken glass. Because I never knew how much truth to give her. Or how much pain to protect her from. Then came the phone call. The phone call that changed everything. It happened almost 8 years after she disappeared. An unknown number flashed across my screen while I was at work. Normally I ignore unknown numbers. That day I didn't. I answered. And immediately recognized the voice. Even after 8 years. I knew exactly who it was. My hand started shaking. Because the person on the other end wasn't dead. Wasn't missing. Wasn't gone. It was my wife. And the first thing she said after 8 years of silence was, "How is our daughter?" I couldn't speak. Not at first. 8 years. 8 entire years. And suddenly she was back. I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Part of me wanted to hang up. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted answers. Instead, I just sat there. Listening to her breathe. Then she asked again. Softly this time. "How is our daughter?" Not, "How are you?" Not, "I'm sorry." Not even, "Can we talk?" Just that. "How is our daughter?" I laughed. A short, bitter laugh. The kind that escapes when you're too angry to cry. "You disappear for 8 years." I said. "And that's your first question?" Silence. Then I heard something unexpected. She was crying. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just quiet crying. The kind someone does when they think nobody can hear them. For a second. I almost felt bad. Then I remembered every birthday she missed. Every Christmas. Every school play. Every question I had to answer alone. And the feeling disappeared. "Why are you calling now?" I asked. Another long pause. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. "Because I don't have much time." I sat up immediately. What does that mean? No answer. Instead she said. Please. Just tell me how she is. So I did. I told her everything. About the science fair where our daughter built a volcano. About the time she broke her arm falling off a bike. About her obsession with drawing. About how she still slept with the same stuffed rabbit. The rabbit she'd carried since she was 3. I don't know why that detail hit her the hardest. But when I mentioned it, she started sobbing. Actually sobbing. And suddenly I wasn't talking to the woman who abandoned us. I was talking to someone broken. Someone carrying something heavy. When I finally finished speaking, neither of us said anything. Almost a minute passed. Then she whispered. I watched her. My heart stopped. What? I watched her grow up. The room suddenly felt colder. What are you talking about? Another pause. Then she told me something I never expected. She had never completely left. Not really. According to her, she'd come back dozens of times. School events. Birthday parties. Parks. Soccer games. Always from a distance. Always where nobody would notice. Always watching. At first I thought she was lying. Then she started describing things. Specific things. A yellow dress our daughter wore on her 9th birthday. A school talent show. The exact color of the bicycle she'd gotten 2 years ago. Details nobody should know. Unless they had actually been there. I felt sick. Because suddenly I realized she was telling the truth. For years. She had been watching. And saying nothing. Why? I asked. My voice barely sounded like my own. Why would you do that? She didn't answer immediately. When she finally spoke. Her voice sounded exhausted. Because the answer wasn't simple. And when she finally told me the reason she left. Everything I thought I knew about the last 8 years changed. Because I was sick. I froze. Not physically sick. Not the flu. Not cancer. Something else. Something she had hidden from everyone. Even me. And the truth she revealed next. Was somehow worse than abandonment. I froze. Because I was sick. Out of all the explanations I'd imagined over the years. That wasn't one of them. What do you mean? I asked. For a few seconds, all I could hear was her breathing. Then she finally said it. I was diagnosed with severe depression. The room went silent. I didn't know what to say. Back when she left, mental health wasn't something we talked about much. Not seriously. Looking back, there had been signs. Days when she barely got out of bed. Weeks when she seemed distant. Moments where she'd stare out the window for hours. But I never understood how bad it was. And apparently, neither did she. She told me that after our daughter was born, things got worse. Much worse. She felt like she was failing as a mother. Failing as a wife. Failing at life. Every mistake felt huge. Every bad day felt permanent. And eventually she convinced herself of something terrifying. That we would be better off without her. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her how stupid that sounded. But I couldn't. Because the pain in her voice sounded real. Painfully real. Then she told me something else. Something she'd never told another person. The day she left. She had actually planned to end her life. My stomach dropped. I couldn't speak. I just sat there. Listening. She explained how she'd driven for hours. How she'd parked her car. How she'd sat alone thinking nobody would miss her. Then her phone buzzed. One picture. Just one. A picture of our daughter. Smiling. Holding that stuffed rabbit. And according to her, that picture saved her life. She broke down crying. Honestly. So did I. Not because I wasn't angry anymore. I was. But because suddenly I realized she'd been fighting a battle I never even knew existed. That didn't excuse what happened. But it changed how I saw it. A few months later. She asked if she could write our daughter a letter. Not meet her. Not call her. Just write. I wasn't sure. But eventually I agreed. The letter was 8 pages long. My daughter read it 3 times. Then she locked herself in her room. For nearly 2 hours. I sat outside the door. Waiting. Worried. The same way parents always worry. Eventually she opened it. Her eyes were red. But she wasn't angry. Just quiet. That night she couldn't sleep. Neither could I. So I grabbed something we'd recently started using. A small bedtime story playbook. Just 15 pages. Simple stories. Gentle illustrations. The kind of stories that help kids slow their thoughts down after a difficult day. We'd read it together a few times before. And somehow, whenever life felt overwhelming, those 15 pages seemed to calm everything down. That night was no different. Page by page. The tension left her face. The tears stopped. And by the final page, she had fallen asleep beside me. For the first time in years. She looked peaceful. I sat there for a long time. Watching her sleep. Thinking about everything. About mistakes. About forgiveness. About how fragile people really are. A year later. She finally agreed to meet her mother. The meeting happened at a small park. Nobody knew what to expect. Especially me. I was terrified. My daughter was nervous. And her mother looked like she hadn't slept in days. Then they saw each other. Nobody ran. Nobody cried dramatically. Real life doesn't work like that. Instead, they simply stood there. Looking at each other. For what felt like forever. Then my daughter asked the question we'd all been waiting for. Why didn't you come back sooner? The answer came immediately. Because she'd been waiting years for it. I didn't think I deserved to. That was it. No excuses. No blame. Just honesty. And somehow, that honesty mattered more than any explanation. The relationship didn't magically heal. It took months. Then years. Slow conversations. Small steps. Awkward moments. Missed opportunities. But eventually, something started growing between them. Trust. Not perfect trust. Just enough. Today my daughter is older. Old enough to understand that adults aren't superheroes. Old enough to understand that sometimes people make terrible decisions while carrying invisible pain. Her mother is still in her life. Not every day. Not every week. But she's there. Trying. And honestly, I still don't know if I made the right choices. I don't know if I should have told my daughter the truth sooner. I don't know if I should have forgiven her mother earlier. What I do know is this. The older I get, the less I believe life is about being right. And the more I believe it's about giving people a chance to become better than they were yesterday. Some people never take that chance. Some do. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do isn't leaving. It's finding the courage to come back. So now I'm curious. If someone broke your heart, but genuinely changed years later, could you ever forgive them?